Welcome to the Wizard of Cause, your go-to podcast for social impact, where we speak to innovative businesses, how they give, and of course, the charities that they love and inspire them. Now, whether you're an entrepreneur, a startup founder, or a business professional looking to stay ahead of the curve, the Wizard will show you how to build lasting social impact on the world. Are you ready to grow, give, and be inspired? Let's get started.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from five figures to six figures or six figures to seven figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
All right. Hey, Will, we appreciate your time and the work that you do with sharing the credit. It's very meaningful, very powerful, and appreciate the opportunity to share what we do with Big Hearts Under the Big Sky and the Montana Outfitters and Guides Association. So thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for being with us again today. I'd like to introduce you my best, closest, dearest friend of my heart for the last almost 30 minutes. Actually, we met a week and a half ago. But I love what Will and the team are doing out here at Big Hearts. And also here, as you see right here on the screen at the MOGA office, that is a heck of an acronym, and it's a mouthful, but I'm going to let Will tell you about it. Will, introduce yourself, even though I just did that, and tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Will Israel. I'm a fifth generation Montanan. I served in the military for a couple of decades, in the Army as an airborne ranger. And after retirement, I needed a job. So I started to work with the local lumber mill and then started to get into the nonprofit work space, which was pretty fantastic, supporting veterans and first responders. And as we started to move down that road, we were selected and nominated for a Big Hearts Under the Big Sky trip. The current director, his name was Mac Menard at the time. We had a discussion afterwards. I wanted to be an ambassador. I just got a heart for service members and children with life-threatening illnesses. And as we sat there having some coffee, he looked at me and he goes, "You're my guy, and you're going to be the new director for the Montana Outfitters and Guides Association." And I was like, "Mac, what the heck are you talking about, man? I've never been an outfitter. I've never been a guide. I'm not even a good hunter." And he goes, "I'll just teach you everything you need to know." And so I
Is that a compliment or a threat? You are
with my experience in the military, a lot of those skills are transferable with planning and strategic operations and events and all those good things and training and all that good stuff. And so I came on board in November of last year with the Montana Outfitters and Guides Association. And so MOGA, the big acronym, that's our parent organization, is a 501c6. It is a trade association. And we have about 500 members across the state, primarily outfitters, guides, and some business members that are focused on all things outdoor recreation. So hunting, fishing, rafting, and horseback trips are our big 4 buckets. And our mission with MOGA is to effectively represent and protect and enhance the industry in all of its forms. As a part of that, so MOGA has been incorporated since 1974, and then has gone back in one form or another since 1949. It's been around forever. We're celebrating our 50th year anniversary of MOGA coming up here in January. But about 17 years ago, Mac had a heart for service. His name is Mac Menard. Wonderful guy, 30 years of experience as an Alaska game and fish warden and biologist. And then he took over for MOGA about 20 years ago as a director. And so MOGA's mission is focused pretty heavily on advocacy, regulation, legislation, so some work there, and then business support. But Mac's father was a Navy veteran of 35 years, and Mac never served in the military, and he always wanted to, and he wanted to give back.
Yeah.
And so he, along with some other members of the board, created this program as a part of MOGA, which is Big Hearts Under the Big Sky. And so Big Hearts is now running on 17 years or 18th year pretty soon here. And Big Heart's a wonderful program. I'm not only the director but also participant, kind of their Club for Men type thing. But we've been able to take about 500 participants. We serve primarily veterans, first responders, and children with terminal illnesses. And we take them out on these world-class outfitted and guided trips here in the state, no cost, and one family at a time. And that's our mission, is to serve one family at a time. And we've been doing that for about 17 years. It's wonderful.
As a Georgia boy, I got to tell you, and my family, has a farm about an hour north of here in a little rural community. But when I was young, I got to go up to Montana. I was about 8 years old, and we went up to Montana and the mountains in the region, and it's just like Bob Ross and God got together and painted, a whole. I mean, it was gorgeous, right? It was stupidly
Yeah.
gorgeous, and it was so wide open. I'm here in Savannah, Georgia, and that's a city. It's not Atlanta, right? It's not Chicago. It's not, you know, just you know miles of steel, glass and concrete. Um, but it's a city. But my it may also have been my first real introduction to snow. We saw snow, right? Georgia has two seasons, summer and not summer. Um, but I mean, I could have freebased the air and the
Yeah.
land and everything up there. And it's my and you said, you know, I'm sorry, hunting, fishing, rafting, and horseback riding. All of those have got. Montana is not the worst place you can go to to, to do all of those. I would become a fairly experienced sportsman, you know, as the years would go on. But man, my first foray in really riding was out in Montana of all places, and if you have not gotten a chance to go, and I'm not talking to, the other Will right now, if you have not gotten a chance to go, you are missing out. If you need to channel your inner Ron Swanson and get out on some water and smell some air, some very cool, crisp air, Montana is not the worst place to do it. Um, so, uh, so, so, you know, and I've even said this. I say this a lot. I've said this to you, so many places when they're talking about their organization, sometimes, unfortunately, they get into what I call the most boring of things, which are banquet numbers, right? You have a banquet and there's a podium and a no-kill dog shelter. Every year in our community, 13,000 dogs, and I love dogs, but that's so boring. Um, can you give me more of a like a one-on-one story? Maybe about somebody that came through the Big Hearts, Big Sky program, a child or serviceman or a family that that particularly sticks out to you.
Yeah, I really went through this and thought a lot about it. And if it's okay, I'd like to share my personal story.
Please, please, you have the floor, Monfrey. We're here for you.
Yeah, so served for 21 years, mostly in special operations with the 75th Ranger Regiment. Had a blast with it. Had another 18 months with the 82nd Airborne Division. and then finished up with ROTC in Minnesota. Had a wonderful career. Had 21 years of service, but I have 17 deployments, mix of training, combat, all around the world. And when we started adding up the numbers with our family, I had a total of 5 years apart during that span with my family. We have 5 kids,
Wow.
and so tons of special occasions missed, first this, that, and the other that were missed, because I was really dedicated service and serving the country and doing a good job in my capacity. And afterwards, after I'd retired, we were starting to see that there was this really big gap with our family. And I likened it to I looked at my family like I was looking at this beautiful picture inside of a snow globe. Do you know what I mean? For an
Hmm.
analogy. Like, here's all these people, they're great, I love them, but they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing.
You're outside of it, right?
I'm
Right.
outside of it. That's right. And
That's
I didn't
terrible.
really know how to get in there. And so we get nominated, and I'm working on trying to figure that out over the course of a couple of years post service. But we get nominated and we get selected to go on this trip, and we decided to go into the Bob Marshall Wilderness Complex on a backcountry horse trip. And so we went out with this great outfitting company. It was wonderful. We went out into the Swift Reservoir, which is north of Shoto. And there is nothing out there. I mean, and when I say nothing, the Bob Marshall Wilderness as a designated wilderness, there's no roads, there's no power lines, there's some small business or small buildings that are grandfathered into some of those old Forest Service plans, but you can't even use a power tool out there. It's all hand tools. Everything's pack it in, pack it out. It's a very, very pristine and beautiful wilderness. So we went out for, I think it was 5 days. It was 4 or 5, it was 4 nights, 5 days. So we go in probably 10, 15 miles and we set up at a place, our camp area. We set up tents and we're being professionally cared for and managed by this outfitting company and guided. So we had a cook and we had this beautiful, pristine, beautiful place on Birch Creek. I mean, it's just God's country. It's absolutely breathtaking. There's mountain peaks all around us. And we started having a lot of fun. We started fishing together. We started hiking. We would hike up to mountain lakes. We hiked up to this one lake called 40 Fish Lake because that's how many fish you caught every time you went up to the lake. Um,
So basically, every fisherman's like just absolute dream. Don't wake me up.
like
Don't wake me up.
literally every cast you're catching a brookie. It was a blast.
That's oh
And
my God.
we're carried along the way, the entire way from the time we started till the time we left by two of our ambassadors, wonderful former veterans, a little bit older, a little bit more aged. And every night, I would sit down and I would tell them some of these stories. Hey man, I've just, this is how I feel. This I feel detached, and they really worked. It wasn't like a set criteria, but they worked through it and allowing us to go through that reconnection process. So I was able to fly fish with my kids. We did this river race. Matter of fact, I keep this over here on my desk. So I made this. This is my river racer. You can tell it says number one dad racer, only dad racer. And my youngest daughter, she won it. I think it was rigged, but by them.
Of course, it was rigged. It was rigged.
But she wins, and I have all these, I have my two teenage daughters, my son, I think he was 12 at the time, and my youngest daughter was 10,
Hmm.
and my lovely beautiful bride of 23 years. We're all there, and we're dirty, nobody showered for days. We smell like campfire. We've been eating, camp food, and we're just having this blast. And afterwards, it just had this profound impact. So one of the things that they do is a celebration dinner. And so we finish up and we go to this celebration dinner, and they did three things. So they recognized me in front of my family for my service, and they provided us with a plaque. And I'm a puddle, right? I could talk about it now because I've worked through all this stuff, but I can't even talk. My wife is emotional.
Combat doesn't train you for
The kids are
everything,
like,
right?
what's going on? Why is dad got a tear in his beard and all that crap?
Right.
And but it was special. And it was wonderful. And that's what made the impact on me is to reach out to Mac and like, hey, how can I become a part of this? This is a beautiful program, and I want to be an ambassador. Well, fast forward, my middle daughter is stoic, and she's like tough. And it's hard to tell if you're like getting through or not to her. We give her a hug and she's kind of like stiff shouldered. We're very similar, I guess. But at Christmas that year, she gave me a snow globe because I shared that story at the celebration dinner. I got through it and I said, I always felt like, I was on the outside looking in. And so it had, even though she may not have wore it on her sleeve, it had a huge impact. And so since that time, our family has been much tighter. My son and I fish a lot more. We hunt a lot more together. We are much more connected. I'm much more open and I'm much more inside. I'm inside the snow globe. So on a personal level, I
Mm.
share that story. And I'm learning some of the other stories as we've gone along that have been pretty profound. This year we had two participants. One of our participants, a great guy named Doc Wright. I always ask, what's your one big takeaway from this trip? And he sat down and he goes, well, there was one point where he goes, the entirety of the trip, we got a big alcohol, that's great. But he goes, I look over at my family and we are up on this beautiful ridge top and the sunrise is coming up over this range that they're on. And he goes, I look at my family and I could see the happiness on their face. And he goes, that memory will always be tied to this big elk rack that he's got on his wall. But he goes, this was a healing process. And this allowed us to same thing, transform and bring our family closer together through this activity. And that's why we share, and that's what I have come to know is Montana heals, and I'll go a little bit more into it. There's something about being disconnected from the static or the noise, right? Every
Right.
day.
Yeah.
You got all kinds of stuff flying at you. You're worried about things. I got to pay the bills, maybe some bad memories from combat that keep popping up and I'm drinking too much. I'm not doing, the right things. I'm not being a good father, good husband, all that kind of crap. Well, you fully disconnect when you're out in nature because you're just doing one thing. And that allows you to connect to the signal. And that's that process of nature healing. And so this is what is the outcome of this process with big hearts is a detachment from day-to-day life and all the noise. And if you put that into perspective with children with terminal illnesses that some of them have had 20 plus surgeries. They've lived in a hospital. Their parents are worried about keeping their child alive, and that child ends up taking a tremendous amount of their bandwidth, and the other kids sort of, get not pushed to the side, but there's not as much time and energy you can put into the rest of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the two deserving communities, whether it's a service member, their family, whether it's a child with terminal illness or their families, it allows them to disconnect through the power and the beauty of nature and then find that signal once again to get them reoriented on what's important, on what are some things that we need to do to recorrect, to check our azimuth and get back on track, put things into perspective. And that's
Spoken
the
like a
trans.
map reader for the kids in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Checking your azimuth. This is
yeah,
a military map reader. The
yeah,
hardest
that
part
is,
that they always teach you in the military maps, right? How to
yeah.
read it.
Stop moving, check your map, and reorient
Stop
yourself
moving.
with your compass. But that's what it does. And to give it a couple of different analogies, whether it's a reazimuth, whether it's a transformation, but it gets people reoriented, moving on the right path. And then it recognizes you at the end for, for service, for the challenges you and your family have gone through. It's just a beautiful process. So a little long-winded there, but that's my story and I'm
No,
sticking to it.
that is not long-winded. That was me. I can't interrupt this because everything you're saying is gold, right? And it rings true, right? It just
Yeah,
I'm like I mean, if you've ever been out there and had if you've ever been out there in nature for a little bit and you could get rid of that phone or God
yeah.
willing forgot it, right?
There's
Um,
no service. Leave
right,
it.
and you just
Leave
get
it.
away for a little
Yeah,
bit and you know that
yeah,
moment of peace from the static, from the noise. I was going to ask you, just very organically coming up because of these things that you're doing, what would be the biggest takeaway for you and your team? But you just unpacked it in story format for me in such a rich and telling way. And I'll tell you something. I get to do a lot of things. Some of them I wish I didn't. Right. I get to meet people at nonprofits, and they say my highest goal is to be fired, and not right, not because of incompetence, not because
yeah,
they hate their work, right? Their passion, they're driven to it, but because they have to do something terrible, right? Or they're there because there's terrible things in the world, right? We went to a pediatric brain cancer summit, not exactly party town. I'm just letting you know right now for a thing that's 100% terminal, right? But it unpacks and it lets you show so much. One like you said, and you touched on both. You're like, these children are like veterans themselves. They have so many
oh yeah,
surgeries. The parents are wincing, and doctors come up, put a needle in there. They're like, go ahead, right? They're not even looking at this point, right? Um, it's the difference between somebody's first flight on an airplane and their 120th flight, right? They're like, no, it's fine. The plane's not going down. It's a little turbulent. I'm not scared. But you've also hear stories of the other children in the family, and we heard one heartbreaking one, and that was, a child said their parents, "Do I have to get cancer to get any attention?" Right? And it just hurts. And I can imagine taking the whole family because you felt outside the snow globe when you're having to put so much of yourself into the child that may or not be with you for outside of a year, 2 years. um, the other children can feel like they're outside the snow globe. You take
yeah,
them on this backwoods thing. There is no phone, there's no power tool, there's
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus, what I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
no
yeah.
nothing. You're here.
That
Here's
just
a
wrote.
mini shovel and some toilet paper because there's no plumbing. Um,
Yeah, that's part of the ambassador training. Not to give away the secret sauce, but we fully, our ambassadors fully acknowledge that and understand it. If there are additional family members, to include the parents, so one of the things we do is we have some time where we just focus on the parents and you guys get some, one-on-one time, um, you know, kids safe and happy and doing their thing. And so, and then same thing with the siblings, is a real focused effort on ensuring that they are receiving that level of attention when it comes to additional tertiary kind of activities. So, if we can take them out and shoot some sporting clays or, smoke a few groundhogs or prairie dogs, we call them out here, and get some target practice. That's always great, not to offend anybody, but it's a common pastime. Or
right.
fish with them, or catch a fish and all that good stuff. I mean, there's there we call it target opportunities, and that's a big part of it because you're absolutely right. And we hear that over and over and over. I'm glad you brought that up. A kid feeling like, do I have to get cancer, a terminal brain cancer, to get the same level of attention? There's something
Any attention, right? Yeah.
there.
It's just
There's something missing there, man. That's a broken piece that needs to be repaired. And so, what little we can do within a weekend or a week, however long it ends up being, is tends to be lasting and meaningful.
I tell you the really cool thing, and it's just like a sniper would say, a target of opportunity. You said something, and it had just come up. I was talking a number of businessmen and women. One of them, this guy, when he flies, he needs a second airplane seat for his wallet, right? Um, but but and he was talking about traditions, and it's one of the things you can't buy, right? Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and they're just targets of opportunity because if you think about it, and I remember conversations with my own father, and I'm in the deep deep south, so even though he's 82, I call him daddy, and people think that's weird. They're outside of it. In Savannah, he calls his deceased father daddy. No, well, daddy used to say, right? Um, but the things that he had traditions and he carried through with us, and of course you create your own traditions, and he would say he never knew that would be a tradition because we just kind of did
Yeah.
something, but it created some little moment, right? You created the opportunity for it.
Yeah.
And so to
That's
this
right.
day, you're doing some of these things with your kids. You can't always go into this dark side of the moon area of Montana, every other weekend with your children. But what are the traditions you ended up creating are something that if you put $500,000 into try and create that tradition, it might not take off. But you had a moment in time and it's always going to be frozen in their minds and in their hearts, this thing, and they want to continually recapture it. Daddy, daddy, father, dad, whatever they call you, right? But they're like, daddy, let's go and fly fish a little bit. It might not be
Yeah.
on that same river, that same creek, that same pond. I want to go to 40 Fish Pond, 40 Fish Lake, whichever. I want to go to that. Um,
Dude, so when we were
you
out
don't know what
there,
creates the tradition.
if
I'm
you
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
if you've ever been bird hunt, just to give you a perspective of how
I
wild
do.
this
We do.
place
We
is,
go dove hunting
um,
here.
birds are pretty skittish, and as soon as they see it or get, they take off. We walked right up to this covey of mountain grouse, and I put one of the nets, just this. Oh, this isn't a bad story, but I just gently like put it over its head. And I mean, these are upland wild mountain birds, but they literally don't see other human beings, And so all these, and I was like, and Mason, my son, he was like, Dad, look, there's some birds because we hunt birds. And so we kept walking closer and we're just staring at them like this close. And I was just like, can I? And so but it just shows you like it's untouched, it's pristine, it's just beautiful connection to nature. I mean, it's wild. You got to carry bear mace and a pistol, but it's that's the type of disconnection from the noise that you get. There are no distractions unless you're being chased by a bear. But that's what that those types of memories are. He and I will remember that forever. you know,
That's awesome.
um, yeah, and we've continued to, reestablish those traditions with hunting, with fishing, with camping. We've really solidified it into our family process because of that, because of that experience where it's like, well, man, if you're just so kind of like in your head over this side or the other, if you have PTS issues, if you're, PTS comes from children, surviving in hospital, it's all kind of the
Right.
same, whether it's combat, whether it's this, that, or the other. It's hard to be like, man, we need to work on our family and doing things that are outside of, personal issues and really establishing this connection with each other. So yeah, I just boil it down to Montana heals. That's as simple as I can put it.
That's that's a great way to put it. Um, so I'm just taking some little notes, while we're chatting. So, um, and it's Montana Outfitters and Guides Association members, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's our trade association. And then
okay.
this program is called Big Hearts Under the Big Sky.
And how do those two connect?
So Big Hearts, we call it the heartbeat of Moga. What Big
Mhm.
Hearts does is we'll utilize our outfitter members for these trips. So our outfitter members will donate their services, their ranch, their horses, their guides, their lodging, and all their accommodations. A lot of them have ADA compatible activities, which are really great for kids. So it's
So
safe,
for the people
licensed.
for the kids in the back, ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act,
Yep.
right?
So they're ADA compliant. So we've taken last year we had one of our kids had spina bifida, and we were able to get her out on a raft, and when
That's
you're thinking
awesome.
about that, you're like, man, we need to add 13 more flotation devices around this kid, right? Because we this could be a really great story, it could be a really terrible story. But they're so safe, they're licensed, professional, safe, they have a heart for service. You know, these are donated. There are some costs that we incur for sure that we and so a lot of these are either at cost or full donations, but there's, when it comes to paying for plane tickets, when it comes to, foods for this food for celebration dinner, travel, some of those accommodations, but our outfitters and our guides provide these services out of their heart. And so it's a way for them to give back to these deserving communities. So, you get a Vietnam vet in a wheelchair, this big giant buck or big bull, or this great fishing trip, or this kid with terminal illness that on a raft going down the
I
river
would
and
not. I'm
fishing, and
so
I mean
glad you
it's
said this. I would not,
yeah,
I would think that somebody in a wheelchair may be sitting there thinking, if God would come and fix me now before for a week, before I,
yeah,
then I could go do this. But I'm precluded from doing it. But
yeah,
y'all make that happen.
yeah. And the wheelchairs, it's not, you're not on a wheel. These things are tracked. They look like a tank.
So it looks like he's a supervillain coming around the
they
corner.
they're it's an off-road vehicle, it's an ORV, but but they're ADA compliant, with additional shooting services, I mean, platforms.
Yeah.
But to provide somebody with that experience before, with our Vietnam vets as they're getting ready to make transition in the fourth quarter here, or regardless, we've had plenty of wounded veterans that are miss that need those additional ADA support because of the nature of their injuries, or the kids, honestly, that can't walk out there and do these kinds of activities. We make it happen. I mean, it is, and there is no length that we will not go to provide those services. And so
Golly.
all of our members, not all of them, but a high percentage of our members, we've had 94 members contribute up to this point out of the 500. So we've had about a quarter of the team have come in and provided these services. It's also transformative for them. So we have
I can imagine.
it's what we used to say is that Big Hearts was like a wheel, and in the center was the program and the families and all. But what we found is the center of the wheel is the family and the participants themselves.
Amen.
And so, and that's what we've come to understand. So a spoke might be like the outfitter and his family or her family, the ranch, the program, our program and ambassadors and all these different connection points, and they become a family. So when people, at the end of celebration dinners, what I like to say is, welcome to the Big Hearts family. You are now part of our family, and we are part of yours forever. And we thank you for coming and allowing us to share this experience with you. So what is that big heart of MOGA? It's these individual family members that have now become a part, and that becomes the heartbeat of our entire association. So, making money's great, you know, um, you know, running your business and all that good stuff. You gotta keep food on the table and keep your doors open, all that good stuff. But what really provides you with motivation? It's purpose, it's meaning, it's truth. What is the good, the true, and the beautiful? Well, it's much more than any dollar amount can be you can put on it. I might not be saying that right, but
I'm with you. I'm tracking.
that's true, and that's the meaning and the purpose that we get from that truth of running these programs. We don't do a ton of them. We do 6 to 9. I think we did 14 one year, and our average is about 6. We can't help everybody, but the ones that we can help have a tremendous impact on us and on them. It's the heart of MOGA.
Well, and like the 2 minutes we've got left, and I hate putting any time limit. Uh, and I'm going to say right now, normally we come back after a year, do this again, let people. I think we might should come back sooner than that, and do this in a little 6 month interval because y'all are
Yeah.
doing so much and you offer it so much. Let me ask you two quick questions. So one is going to be, so I mean, what's the future hold? But what I want to simply say, for our businesses, for our donor base out there, for the people, what is an outing like that? What's the budget on an outing like that? So I mean, if somebody says, and we've got some pocket people, we've got some people that say, I can't do the whole thing, but I want to get a group together to do something. What's it cost to do an outing like that for a family, for a vet, for?
Yeah, typically about $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the family and their needs and the the ADA considerations with each person.
Now, the tracked vehicle that I assume comes with mud flaps, a gun rack, and a CB
Yeah.
kit, right? uh, Maybe an 8 track tape of Mother's Finest playing all of the background. Um,
Yep.
but but so how long are they out there? Is it 3 days? Is it 5 days? Is it?
Each trip is a little bit different. Ours was for my family was a total of 6 days, but on average, I would say 3 is probably on the short end. 5 is about the happy medium. So they're roughly a week or half a week out there. Yeah, and our long term or really our next year's plan that we've locked in is we will run 6 of our missions for participants for each one of these families, and that'll be a mix of veterans, and we don't distinguish. You could be Space Force or you could be Delta Force, and then we'll
I wasn't
have
expecting that rate Space Force and Delta Force, right? We don't.
That's right. Yeah, it's if you're a veteran, you served. We also serve first responders from anywhere in the country,
Awesome, awesome,
and
awesome.
then we'll have probably an even split. And it really depends. It's a little bit more difficult with the children because they've got to be healthy enough to be able to get outside or at least do some of these activities.
Right, right.
So, but we'll split it right down the uprights, 3 and 3 or 4 and 2 is what we'll do next year, and we'll bring them in and we'll do them all here in Montana. We'll start our nomination process in March, solidify those, do our outreach, and bring some more people into the family for 25. 26 and long term, we as an organization, we feel really comfortable where we're at. I think we have some capacity to do more of these trips. But numbers, my understanding within the nonprofit space, numbers aren't as important, in my opinion, in my experience, as it is the effectiveness of your program. If we have the capacity, as in we have enough people, we have enough ambassadors, we have enough staff, we have enough ambassadors, we have enough funds, then we theoretically could do, 9, 12, so on and so forth. But we want to be very deliberate with that because each experience for one of these families needs to have that transformative process. So we are absolutely able to do 6 next year. May not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but that impact has a tremendous impact with the multiplier effect on those individuals and their communities and so on and so forth, and us.
Oh,
So,
amen.
one family can impact hundreds and hundreds of people. One person, guy, right, who's back on track, can run an entire trade association and a nonprofit, right? So, and so my impact is, thousands and thousands in the state. Well, if I'm, not back on track because I'm, sad about my, some bad things that happened overseas and not able to, get over that kind of stuff and have find growth. Well, Will Israel's not doing anything. I'm just out in the woodline, in a cabin somewhere, feeling sorry for myself. Well, that's part of this transformative process. I'm crushing it and having a great time, not being arrogant, but God has allowed me and my family to express the talent, skills, and capabilities that He gave me in really ultra profound and powerful ways. And that's through programs like this. And my assumption is it has a similar impact on most of the people that come through this program. So yeah, we get a warrior or a family with a child with life-threatening illness reoriented on the right path. That trickle effect, that multiplier effect, impacts, empowers, and enhances communities. So yeah, so we're going to take six families, and we're going to show them a heck of a good time and work towards that transformative process. And then we'll reevaluate in 26 and 27, 28, and see if we have the capacity, funding, and ambassadors to continue to grow. So
And who knows what traditions will bloom out of that event, through those families for generations to come, right?
that's right.
I'm going to do a quick plug, and that is again, now if you're watching this, you know what we do and how we do, and yes, Shane, the credit has given uh, millions back to charity. I'm not a socialist, I promise, but we give away other people's money for a living. But they're happy we do it, right? They're happy because if you have a business and you take plastic, part of that money that when these mass guard system yanks out of you, that pound of flesh is going back into the system to buy a bank president a new Lexus every year. But it could be going not to put another badger butt behind Will in his office right here, but but to take these service men and women, these first responders, these some very broken, um, um, to the point where they're thinking, I can barely get out of the house, much less in a trail that has no cell service, no electricity, no modern convenience of any kind, or these children, um, that the illness is devastating not just the child, but is traumatic on the family as a whole. If you would like a percentage of your business to go and help a bank president in a new Lexus, this might not be the channel. But if you would instead like to get these families out into the big sky of Montana and let Montana do a little more healing than it's already doing, um, then click below and we'll tell you how. Because um, Big Heart, Big Sky will have a link, and you can click below and say, "This is the group I would like to support." And there are a lot uh, less worthy causes out there in the world. So we'll again, that's a handsome name, by the way. Thank you for coming on with us. I'm glad. I don't think you got in the snow globe. I think we just smashed the snow globe, and you and your family are all in the same area together. I'm glad y'all got the time.
Man, brother. Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Will. Really meaningful. Appreciate your support and promotion of the program and the good work that we're doing. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm just blessed to be a part of it. Thank you, sir.
Listen, you already do the hard work, but this on LinkedIn alone, this series we have 15 million impressions every 90 days. I hope it can broaden your audience because people need to know what you're doing. Thank you so much, buddy.
Rangers lead the way.
All right.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
That wraps up today's episode of The Wizard of Gods. We hope you've enjoyed the insights and ideas shared in today's conversation. Now, if you found value in this episode, don't forget to subscribe and tell us how we're doing. Your feedback helps us bring you more content that matters. And of course, stay connected with us for updates, tips, and more. Until next time, keep giving, take care, and keep making an impact.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God. It's beautiful.